Luciana had dedicated her entire life to others. First, she had taken care of her elderly parents with patience and dedication. Then she had raised her children with tireless love, always putting their needs before her own. When her husband had fallen ill, she had stayed by his side day and night without ever complaining, transforming every gesture into an act of love. She had always been the one who never said no, the one who got up at dawn and went to sleep only when everything was sorted. For her, it was natural to make herself available. She did not do it out of duty or to obtain gratitude, but because that way of life belonged to her. She was not servile. She did not seek approval. She was made that way, a woman with a heart, silent and strong, who found the meaning of her life in taking care of those she loved. When her son Matteo married Serena, Luciana was convinced that her job as a mother was far from over. She wanted him to be happy, tidy, well-groomed. Every day, as if it were a silent mission, she took her bag, put on her coat, and went to their house. She did what she could, ironed Matteo's shirts with precision, washed the dishes left over from the night before, tidied up the toys of little Tommaso, their 3-year-old son. There were times when she found the kitchen submerged by the remains of the previous day, other times when the bathroom looked like it hadn't been cleaned in weeks. But Luciana didn't complain. With patience and dedication, she fixed everything. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. Serena, on the other hand, was always in a hurry. She worked. She took time for herself, too much time. She loved her moments in beauty salons and occasionally went out with her friends. She wasn't a bad person, Luciana thought, just distracted, a little immature. She had a direct way of doing things, which sometimes bordered on rudeness, but Luciana preferred not to dwell too much on certain things. All she cared about was that her son lived in an orderly environment, that Tommaso grew up in a clean house. Until that day. Luciana had arrived early, as usual. Matteo had already left for work, and Serena, it seemed, too. The door was locked, but she had the key, so she went in, as usual. She put her bag down, put on her apron, and started cleaning the bathroom. She had just put disinfectant in the sink, her hands immersed in the water, when she heard the front door open. It was Serena. She didn't have time to warn her of her presence when she heard her voice, loud, while she was talking on the phone with someone. "Oh yeah? Today will be a walk in the park again." Serena laughed. "I have a free cleaning lady, my stupid mother-in-law. She does everything, irons, washes, cleans, without me even asking. Sometimes I feel guilty, but then I think it's better this way. At least I can do my nails in peace." Luciana stiffened. Every word was a blow, a punch in the stomach. She remained still, her hands still wet, her gaze fixed on the mirror in front of her. She had never felt so small, so humiliated. She wasn't blind, nor deaf, but until that moment she had always let everything go. And that phrase, "that stupid mother-in-law of mine," was like glass shattering inside. She waited a few minutes. When she heard Serena lock herself in the room, she slowly took off her apron and left that house in silence like a shadow. From that day on, Luciana never returned. Serena didn't notice at first. She was convinced that Luciana was offended for some trivial reason. She sent her a couple of messages without receiving a response, but she didn't insist. She thought she would return, as always. But Luciana, this time, had made a choice. A difficult, painful choice. Every part of her wanted to return to that house to make sure that Tommaso was okay, that Mateo had his clean shirts, but there was a dignity that asked to be heard for the first time in her life, and she chose to give it a voice. The days passed, then the weeks. The house began to change. The kitchen was often a mess, the bathroom neglected. Mateo began to notice that nothing was the same. The shirts were piled up, dinner wasn't ready when he arrived, and little Tommaso often played in the mess. One Saturday morning, Mateo asked his wife, "But isn't Mom coming over anymore? I haven't seen her in a while." Serena shrugged. She must be busy. But inside, she had a strange sense of guilt. And the more time passed, the more the weight of those words said lightly on the phone came back to her mind. One evening, while she was trying to tidy up the house alone, stumbling over toys and clothes to fold, Serena stopped to look at the living room. She was exhausted. And then she thought back to Luciana's hands, those hands that delicately put everything back in place without ever asking for anything, only for love. A lump formed in her throat. The next day, she showed up at Luciana's house, holding Tommaso's hand. Luciana opened the door with a serious, distant expression. "Hi," Serena said, lowering her gaze. "I know I don't deserve your time, but I wanted to tell you that I was wrong, and that I'm sorry. I never thanked you for what you did. I was stupid, ungrateful, and superficial, and you don't deserve any of this." Luciana was silent for a moment. Then she leaned toward Tommaso and stroked his hair. She took him in her arms, held him tightly. Only then did she look Serena in the eyes. "Thank you for coming," she said. "But I will never go back to doing what I did. Not because I hate you, but because I have understood that if I don't respect myself, no one will. I did what I did for love, but love cannot be humiliated." Serena nodded with tears in her eyes. She didn't ask for anything else. She didn't insist. She said goodbye to Luciana and went home with her heart full of shame but also awareness. From that day on, something changed in her. She began to do things alone, not because it was less of a burden, but because she had understood that there was a dignity to honor. Luciana's, of course, but also her own. She began to teach Tommaso the importance of respect, of saying thank you, of honoring those who take care of others in silence. Luciana, for her part, never stopped loving. She continued to sew little dresses for her nephew, to prepare jars of jam for Mateo, which she discreetly left on the doorstep of their house. But she never returned to cleaning, washing, tidying up. She had understood that even good people, sooner or later, have to learn to say enough. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.